In an unprecedented move, hundreds of America's top generals and admirals were summoned to Marine Corps Base Quantico. President Donald Trump and Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth stood before the nation's military elite, declaring a new era of warfighting. The Department of Defense is no more. It is now the Department of War. Discipline, fitness, and a ruthless focus on readiness are the orders of the day. The question is, will America's military follow? US Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth urged top military leaders to prepare for war. In rare meeting, Newsweek reported. In an unprecedented gathering at Marine Corps Base Quantico, Virginia, hundreds of America's top military leaders were called from around the globe for a meeting that has sparked both intrigue and concern.
We are preparing every day. We have to be prepared for war, not for defense. We're training warriors, not defenders. We fight wars to win, not to defend. Defense is something you do all the time. It's inherently reactionary and can lead to overuse, overreach, and mission creep. War is something you do sparingly, on our own terms, and with clear aims. We fight to win. We unleash overwhelming and punishing violence on the enemy. We also don't fight with stupid rules of engagement. We untie the hands of our warfighters to intimidate, demoralize, hunt, and kill the enemies of our country. No more politically correct and overbearing rules of engagement. Just common sense, maximum lethality, and authority for warfighters. That's all I ever wanted as a platoon leader.
On September 30th, US President Donald Trump and Pete Hegseth addressed an audience of one-star generals and admirals, along with senior staff, signaling a sweeping agenda for the nation's armed forces. The event comes just weeks after President Trump signed an executive order renaming the Department of Defense as the Department of War, a title last officially used in 1947. The administration has framed this rebranding as a message to both allies and adversaries, reflecting what Trump and Hegseth describe as a renewed focus on America's military readiness. The summit, held on the sprawling 55,000-acre Quantico facility, represented an extraordinary congregation of military leaders, many of whom had been summoned on short notice. The unusual gathering prompted speculation about the motivations behind the meeting. While Vice President J.D. Vance downplayed the event as routine, observers, including Giuseppe Cavo Dragone, chair of the NATO Military Committee, described the assembly as unprecedented. Security at Quantico was exceptionally tight. Officers from Europe, South Korea, and the Middle East arrived hours in advance, seated according to their service branch: Army, Marine Corps, Navy, Air Force, and Space Force. The focus of Hegseth's speech was as much about the culture of the military as it was about readiness for combat. He criticized what he described as decades of decay in leadership, particularly targeting diversity, equity, and inclusion programs, which he said had contributed to a risk-averse officer corps.
This administration has done a great deal from day one to remove the social justice, politically correct, and toxic ideological garbage that had infected our department, to rip out the politics. No more identity months, DEI offices, dudes in dresses. No more climate change worship. No more division, distraction, or gender delusions. No more debris. As I've said before, and will say again, we are done with that shit.
Hegseth specifically condemned overweight officers, saying,
Frankly, it's tiring to look out at combat formations, or really any formation, and see fat troops. Likewise, it's completely unacceptable to see fat generals and admirals in the halls of the Pentagon and leading commands around the country and the world. It's a bad look. It is bad, and it's not who we are. So whether you're an airborne ranger or a chairborne ranger, a brand new private or a 4-star general, you need to meet the height and weight standards and pass your PT test.
The Secretary framed this as part of a broader push to restore the military's warrior ethos, citing his own rigorous training routine as a model. Hegseth also denounced policies associated with previous administrations, vowing to eliminate identity months, diversity officers, climate initiatives, and what he termed gender delusion in the ranks. He committed to overhauling the Pentagon's equal opportunity and Inspector General offices, asserting that the current system had empowered complainers and ideologues, stifling effective leadership.
We are overhauling an Inspector General process, the IG, that has been weaponized, putting complainers, ideologues, and poor performers in the driver's seat. We're doing the same with the equal opportunity and military equal opportunity policies, the EO and MEO at our department. No more frivolous complaints, no more anonymous complaints, no more repeat complainants, no more smearing reputations, no more endless waiting, no more legal limbo, no more sidetracking careers, no more walking on eggshells.
Hegseth warned that officers who disagreed with his vision should resign, while promising that the majority of the military would support the new direction. President Trump addressed the assembled leaders after Hegseth, opening with a light-hearted remark about the silence in the room.
I've never walked into a room so silent before. This is very... Oh, don't laugh, you're not allowed to do that. You know what, just have a good time. And if you want to applaud, you applaud. And if you want to do anything you want, you can do anything you want. And if you don't like what I'm saying, you can leave the room. Of course, there goes your rank, there goes your future.
Trump's speech reinforced Hegseth's message of revitalizing military readiness and discipline. He highlighted his administration's record on military matters, claiming to have settled 7 wars and expressing a hope for an 8th if Hamas accepted his Gaza proposal. Before arriving at the event, while speaking to the press, Trump also signaled his readiness to dismiss senior military leaders on the spot if they failed to align with his directives.
So I'm going to be meeting with generals and with admirals and with leaders. And if I don't like somebody, I'm going to fire them right on the spot.
The two leaders painted a vision of a transformed military, prioritizing rigorous physical standards, strict professional appearance, and a renewed focus on combat readiness over what they described as decades of woke distractions. The summit, attended by senior officers from around the world, signaled a decisive push by the Trump administration to assert control over military culture and leadership practices. Security experts and military analysts alike have noted the significance of gathering so many top-ranking officers in a single location, with Mark Cancian of the Center for Strategic and International Studies calling the summit mystifying for its logistical demands and lack of a publicly stated rationale. Whether this aggressive overhaul and cultural shift will be welcomed or resisted by the US military remains to be seen. What is clear is that the Trump administration has signaled a new era, one defined by strict standards, rigorous physical fitness, and a clear message to America's allies and adversaries alike. The Department of War is preparing for conflict and expects its leadership to follow without question.